The Galactic Council had always considered humanity a curiosity, a primitive species that had barely escaped its own solar system when the Viridian Empire discovered them. That was 3 centuries ago. Since then, humans had been relegated to the Outer Rim territories, their requests for expansion denied, their voices silenced in the grand chambers where civilizations millions of years old decided the fate of entire star clusters. Ambassador Chen stood before the holographic projection of the Council, her face impassive as the Archon of Viridian Prime delivered yet another dismissal. Your petition for colonization rights in the Sagittarius Arm is rejected, the towering crystalline being announced, its voice resonating through quantum channels. Humanity lacks the technological sophistication and cultural maturity required for such an undertaking. Around the chamber, representatives from a dozen elder species nodded in agreement. The insectoid Kresh chittered mockingly. The gaseous lumini pulsed with what could only be interpreted as amusement. Chen bowed slightly, her expression betraying nothing. The Terran Federation acknowledges the Council's decision. As her avatar dissolved from the chamber, none of them noticed the slight smile that crossed her lips. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, beyond the watchful sensors of galactic peacekeepers, something enormous was taking shape. The project had begun 200 years ago, immediately after humanity's first petition was denied. It was called Project Colossus, and it represented everything humanity had learned from centuries of being underestimated. Dr. James Okonkwo floated in zero gravity, his augmented eyes scanning the skeletal framework that stretched beyond the horizon of his vision. The structure was incomprehensible in scale, larger than Earth itself, a lattice of neutronium alloys and dark matter condensers that defied conventional engineering. Section Gamma 779 reports structural integration at 98%, his AI assistant announced. James allowed himself a rare smile. The Titan-class warship Prometheus was nearly complete. And it was just one of 5. The galaxy's elder races had made a critical miscalculation. They assumed that humanity's rapid technological advancement would plateau, that humans would eventually accept their place in the cosmic hierarchy. They didn't understand the single trait that had allowed humanity to survive ice ages, world wars, and near extinction: stubborn, unrelenting adaptation. While the Council debated trade agreements and territorial disputes, humanity had been learning. Every rejected petition, every condescending dismissal had been a learning opportunity. Human scientists had infiltrated galactic universities, human spies had accessed restricted databases, and human engineers had reverse-engineered technologies that were supposed to be beyond their comprehension. But they didn't just copy. They innovated. The quantum drives that powered the Titan-class vessels didn't fold space like traditional FTL engines, they rewrote the fundamental constants of local spacetime. The weapons systems didn't fire projectiles or energy beams, they manipulated probability fields, making enemy vessels' structural integrity statistically impossible. The shields weren't barriers but rather temporal displacement fields that shifted incoming attacks into alternate timelines. And the scale, the sheer, audacious scale, was humanity's masterstroke. The elder races built warships measured in kilometers. Humanity built warships measured in planetary diameters. The awakening came without warning. The Viridian Empire's border fleet detected the anomaly first: 5 massive gravitational signatures emerging from humanity's home system. By the time they understood what they were seeing, the Prometheus had already crossed half the distance to Viridian Prime. Admiral Sarah Kamani stood on the bridge of Prometheus, gazing at the viewport that showed not space, but a simulation of space. The ship was so large that actual windows would be structurally impossible. Around her, thousands of crew members coordinated across what was essentially a mobile planet. "Hail the Galactic Council," she ordered. The response was immediate. The holographic images of the council members appeared, their usual composure shattered. The Archon of Viridian Prime, who had dismissed Ambassador Chen so casually, now stared at the tactical display showing 5 planet-sized vessels entering the core systems. "This is an act of war," the Archon declared, its crystalline form flickering with what might have been fear. "No," Admiral Kamani replied calmly. "This is an act of negotiation. For 3 centuries, you've treated humanity as children. You've denied us territory, resources, and respect. We tried diplomacy. We tried patience. Now, we're trying a different approach. The Kresh representative's mandibles clicked frantically. You wouldn't dare fire on Council worlds. The combined fleets of the galaxy would. Would what? Kamani interrupted. Destroy us? Each of these vessels carries enough firepower to sterilize a solar system. Our shields can withstand a supernova. And we can manufacture more. The question isn't whether you can defeat us, it's whether the galaxy will survive the attempt. Silence fell across the quantum channels. What do you want? The Archon finally asked, its voice subdued. Recognition. Equal representation on the Council. Unrestricted colonization rights. And an end to the condescension. Kamani's expression softened slightly. We don't want war. We never did. But we're done being dismissed. The Lumini representative pulsed with a color that translated to resignation. The arrogance was ours. We saw your youth and mistook it for weakness. We forgot that young species are also bold species. Over the following months, the Galactic Council underwent its first major restructuring in 10 million years. Humanity was granted a permanent seat, their territories expanded, and their technological achievements recognized. The 5 Titan-class warships remained in orbit around various Council worlds, not as threats, but as reminders. Ambassador Chen, now promoted to Council representative, stood once again in the Grand Chamber. But this time, when she spoke, the galaxy listened. The elder races had learned a valuable lesson: never underestimate a species simply because they're young. And humanity had learned one too: sometimes, to be heard, you need to speak in a language everyone understands. In the end, it wasn't the weapons that changed everything, it was the willingness to build them. The galaxy's arrogance had collapsed not under the weight of firepower, but under the realization that humanity would go to any lengths to earn their place among the stars. The age of dismissal was over. The age of humanity had begun.